Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Aparutade sangamatassa tavara ye sorvanta bhamunjantu satang. So this, as I say every time, this is the opportunity to reflect, not to think or try to pass judgments, but just to observe, be the witness, the Bhutto, rather than somebody listening to a Dhamma talk. So being the Bhutto is the witness position. It's not the judgmental. Buddha is not a judge, doesn't pronounce judgments on anyone. Buddha is the witness to ultimate reality. So there's been a question about, is absolute reality and consciousness the same thing? And of course, I can only reflect on what I've realized myself. It's called Bhajatang Vaitida Pavanui, to be realized individually. So everything I say is not a doctrine, or if you believe what I say just blindly, you say, Ajahn Sumedho said that must be true, then you're still operating from not the witness, but the very personal reaction to what you hear, or your faith in me, or your wanting to know definitely what somebody else thinks about ultimate reality or consciousness. So the Buddha emphasized Bhajatang, which is to be realized individually through wisdom. So even in the suttas, the scriptures, the historical Buddha wasn't preaching about doctrines that you had to believe, but ways to realize for yourself. So these reflections are hopefully ways to encourage you to reflect rather than to just grasp ideas, scriptural proclamations, imperatives that you hear from others, but to see how they affect you. So consciousness, Dhamma, absolute reality, ultimate truth, as far as my realization goes, are the same thing. That's what I've realized. So that is just a statement not to be grasped or to spread around or to believe that, is Ajahn Sumedho really realized the Dhamma, the pure consciousness, or Nibbana? You can speculate all you want and form views and opinions about it. But all that is still proliferation. Like, is Ajahn Sumedho truly realized person? And you know that that's a doubt, a question. Is he realized or not? And what you can know from that kind of doubt is you can believe that I am or I'm not. So any words you think up end in doubt. Doubt is the result of grasping ideas. Somebody wrote me an email about jhanas. Wanting to, do you really have to get jhanas, or you don't need them, or what do you think, Ajahn Sumedho, about jhanas? And then I just answered, it's another word that we can speculate about. And that is the fact. When you're the witness, you know the word jhana is a word, it's a fact, it comes and goes according to conditions. Or samadhi, you've got to get samadhi before you can do vipassana. It's like a imperative in some circles, some teachers. You've got to get samadhi. And ask, who has to get samadhi? And what is samadhi? And then you realize English translation is concentration. And you've got to get concentrated. And then you ask yourself, who has to get concentrated? Is there a separate entity called Sumedho that needs to get samadhi? And, then the question is, can I find a separate person called Sumedho? I can see it's a word, I've been given the name. But is Sumedho is another word. It comes and goes. I wasn't knows what my Christian name is. It's my Buddhist name. So this is investigating phenomena as we experience it. Even very personal identities. And we live in an age, in a culture that makes everything very personal. What I think and feel is so ultimately important. And my views and my opinions should be taken seriously. And I want to be understood and appreciated as a person. And all these we can all relate to. As a person, we want all kinds of things or don't want things to be a certain way. So the witness is aware of this desire, wanting and not wanting. So the personality, sakkayaditthi, or the ego, when we call it the ego, or in Pali term sakkayaditthi, the first letter, as a person, I want to be listened to and respected as a person. But when I try to find the person that has any permanence or any sustainability, I can't find it. I can't find myself as a person. And as you keep investigating and questioning, and as you begin to realize that when you let go of the personality, you don't destroy it. It doesn't mean you don't have any personality anymore, but it's no longer what you believe and trust in. As a person, my personality is very changeable. The ego changes according to conditions. So I can't trust it because it is very unstable. But in ultimate reality, in pure consciousness, I trust that. That's my abiding place, not in what I think or feel or believe. And as far as I've been able to do, I cannot get beyond consciousness, pure consciousness. I can imagine images beyond consciousness, like there's a Brahma realm or a special realm where arahants live, or those are images we create in consciousness. But when you realize pure consciousness, it's the silence behind all the thoughts, all the emotions that you realize. It's apparent here and now, it's timeless, it never changes. So that must be ultimate reality, because you can't get beyond it. Any images you might form are within consciousness, so even the idea of getting beyond consciousness is still words, imagination. So I found, like in the Theravada approach, the Pali Canon and that, I like the form of it. And it's just the first sermon, to me, is absolutely brilliant, because it's all there. The suffering is a common human experience, which none of us want to suffer as persons, as people. And yet so much of life in this form, this human body, male or female, is suffering. That's just the way it is. It's not a form that was meant just for pleasure and happiness. It's a form that's born in pain, grows up, gets old, and dies. And that's what all forms do, whether they're images or material forms, human forms, animal forms. All conditions are impermanent. So that is telling you the truth. But then you have to realize that for yourself. It's not about believing all phenomena is impermanent. It's not about grasping the words, but finding out, can you find phenomena that is permanent? Maybe the sun is the best you can get. But sometime in the future, the sun will burn out. Because it's fire, it's a condition, it's a phenomenon. Then what will happen to Earth if the sun burns out? So we're dependent on the sun for sustenance, to grow food, to survive, to breathe. But even that, worshipping the sun as a god, has a certain reasonableness to it, but it's still not realizing ultimate reality isn't the sun in the sky or the stars in the firmament, but it's what you are ultimately is pure conscious awareness. And this is very important for each one to trust in, not believe, but to find out for yourself. The trust that you're not just a mortal form limited to karmic conditions that you've acquired and may want or don't want. Because just contemplate the entertainment world is about murder and violence and wars, adultery, abuse. And that's what we go pay money to go see, is to see horror shows or things that are scary. Because silence, ultimate reality, isn't exciting or interesting. And as a personality, we're conditioned to seek interesting things, things that entertain us, take us out of our mundane world, the boring life that we might feel we have. So we go to the movies and we can watch dragons fly through the air, we can see all kinds of fantasies and true stories about people whose lives have been disrupted in so many ways, different ways. Listening to the news in the morning, the BBC World Service. Sometimes I don't want to even listen to it because it's always so distressing, bringing about what's happening and the starvation, the wars that go on, the brutality. And in my practice of meditation, and I find the silence of here and now my strength. It's peaceful, it's not suffering. So what do you want to identify with? With the desire mind that always looking for a hit, a sensual experience, a reward, a prize, win a race. Listening to the BBC World Service, I hear these people winning races and how excited and happy they are at being winners, being recognized as winners, and it's all very enthusiastic. But how long can you sustain that how long can you sustain the belief that you're a winner. Or you might be the depressed kind that think, I'm a habitual loser. I'm nobody. How long can you sustain that illusion? So we handle it with alcohol, drugs, smoking, all kinds of ways of making life more interesting or blotting it out. But apparent here and now is Dhamma, and that when you ask yourself, what is apparent here and now? This conscious awareness, whatever state of mind you're in, whether you're elated because you're a winner or you're a loser, apparent here and now is the mood changes, but the conscious silence is fully conscious. It's not a created consciousness through any organ of the body. So this is another question to ask yourself. Is consciousness just limited to my body? Is it bound into this mortal form? Or is the body in consciousness? Is the world, is the planet in consciousness? Are the sun, moon, and stars in consciousness? Consciousness embraces everything. And so that we're all in the same consciousness. It's not personal, it's not Buddhist, it's not anything but ultimate reality. It can only be that. Now this is to be realized for yourself. And this kind of reflection that I'm giving this afternoon is to encourage you to do it. This is the Pansa, the Vasa, the monasteries dedicated towards realizing this for yourself. Not to become just followers of Theravadan Thai forest tradition, or to be caught in the momentum of custom and habit, but to be the witness to it. Whatever habits you individually might have, whether they're wholesome or not, you can witness. They are what they are. Say, is smoking a good or bad habit? Smoking cigarettes, and then you can say, when I was a youth, it was what everybody did. And you were nobody if you didn't light up a cigarette and smoke. And it was kind of nice. I liked smoking. And then now it's considered a bad habit because it causes cancer. So we pass judgment. It's not about saying whether smoking is good or bad, but it is a condition that arises and ceases. So you're seeing it no longer from the judgment position of right or wrong, good or bad, but from wisdom. It is a condition. It's not ultimate reality. Whether you personally think it's good or bad is individual. But good and bad are just words. They're judgments. And the thinking mind is all about judging things. The thinking mind is all words. So all words vocabulary is dualistic. So we divide everything that we experience through what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think into right and wrong, good and evil, true or false, male or female. Virtue and sin. All these are words that make judgments about phenomena. It's not judging ultimate reality, but we can think ultimate reality must be very good. But it's not about being good anymore. It's about the way it is. Ultimate reality is to be realized. It's Panchitang. It's to be realized individually. So everybody in this temple hall listening to this realizes you can do this. This is not asking you that only special people can do this. It's a very practical way to reflect on one's own personal take on life and existence. Do you really like yourself as a person? Or do you pass judgments on yourself? I have these bad habits, I think too much, I'm too lazy, I'm too greedy, I have too much anger and hatred. These are judgments about your personality. So as we see our personality as what we are, then the judging faculties come into existence. Because the personality is, it changes. It can be good, it can be bad. It can feel love and respect, it can feel anger and hatred. That's the personality, but it's a very impermanent condition. It's a phenomenon. So when we live our lives just from a personal identity, then life does, when you get old especially. As long as you're young, you can kind of enjoy life if you're not disabled. Or you believe you can. You think if you got a lot of money and a lot of power, you'll be on top of the world. But the world is not a realm of happiness. It's a realm of suffering. When you contemplate nature just around us here at Amaravati, just the way it's all about self-preservation, survival, procreation. Like sexual desire is a natural condition to this form of the human male and female. And yet we see it, we can take it in very personal ways. It's right, it's wrong, it's a sin, we should suppress it, we should get rid of it. But it's programmed into the form. The form is a sexual form. So in monasticism, you become celibate. Well, what is that as a person? You abstain from sexual activities. that we often take personally because we still have sexual desire. The body produces that. And we think we've got to control it, get rid of it, deny it. But at celibacy, we just don't act on it. We recognize it as just a function like swallowing food or defecating. It's just natural phenomena arising and ceasing. Where pure consciousness is silent. It's blissful. Once you realize it, it's not interesting, it's not romantic, it's not adventurous. To the personality, it's boring, and we judge silence. Our personalities get bored and restless. Because the personality isn't silent. You can't become a silent person by trying to create silence. But you can realize silence because it's here and now, timeless. And so the path, the Eightfold Path, is like samadhi, right understanding, or perfect understanding. Recognize that the path is silent path. It's not personal. It doesn't belong to anybody. Are there arahants on the path, or sotapannas, stream enterers? There's all kind of speculation about the attainments of people who meditate, whether they're stream enterers or once returners or non-returners or arahants. And these are words. They're empty phenomena. So one time, years ago, with Luang Por I asked him, I asked Ajahn Chah, I said, am I a stream enterer? Am I a sotapanna? And he looks at me and he smiles and says, how should I know? So suddenly I realized that's something you know individually through wisdom, not that you have to have it affirmed by someone who you trust is enlightened. How should I know? This is budget tongue to be realized individually, not to be kind of knighted with a sword by an enlightened master. You are a stream enterer. I wouldn't trust that. The ego would like that. The ego would like to have all the wise sages affirm, I'm highly spiritually evolved and that. The ego likes that kind of thing, but when you're not an ego anymore, what are you? If you're not a person, and through investigation, the silence behind all the rubbish, all the noise of the world, of your mind. Your mind is a thinking function, so it's noisy. Thinking is a very noisy, we're stuck with, because we're thinking creatures. So we think, and then we try to stop thinking by using willpower, personal willpower, to stop thinking I've got to stop thinking. You can't do it. I've tried it. Tried to just willfully stop thinking. And then I like this technique that I recommend to deliberately think, because, I had this insight to stop thinking. So I'd use personal willpower, personal effort to stop it. Now I could do it, hold it for a few seconds, and then it would can sustain it. And that's one reason why drugs or alcohol sometimes relieve from thinking, because it just rattles on and on endlessly, some of it intelligent, a lot of it nonsense. So the space between, when you deliberately think something very simple, not emotionally charged, I use the words like, I am a human being. Now that doesn't arouse any great emotion in me. It's not something controversial or arousing any strong feelings. It's kind of a matter-of-fact statement. But I wasn't interested in the words, but in the silence between the words. Because that's here and now. Silence is here and now. The words come and go. I am come and go. Even the word a comes and goes. Try to sustain the simple word a. I am a. It's gone. Human is a bigger word, but when you try to sustain the word human, you can't. It comes and goes very quickly. And there's space, there's silence between the words that's apparent here and now. So rather than trying to stop thinking, through thinking about stopping thinking, and through efforts created out of ignorance, just think and be the witness. Can even the word Buddha, a holy word in this tradition. So we use the mantra Bhutto, but even that, after a while you have to keep thinking Bhutto, Bhutto, because you can't sustain the word. You've got to keep thinking of it. After a while, just by reciting Bhutto, Bhutto long enough, you can sustain, you can go Bhutto, Bhutto. But I was such a rabid thinker, obsessed with thoughts and ideas, that when Luang Por Sumedho advised me to use the mantra Bhutto, the inhalation pu and the exhalation to, with using the anapanasati, the breath, rising, falling of the breath. I began to realize inhalations were easy to observe. And I began to notice that my mind would wander on exhalations. Like inspiration is what we like, and expiration we don't want to know. Getting old is like your life is expiring, your body's getting old. That's the nature of phenomena. But actually the word Buddha is just a word. It's a sankhara. Whether you think it's sacred or not, it's not a matter what you think, but the fact is it is a creation. It has an origin and a cessation. But what it arises and ceases in is silence. The silence surrounding the word Buddha. How many of you really notice that? Being human is like this. We're thinking creatures. And therefore, we can create teachings like the Four Noble Truths, dependent origination. They're all thoughts. They're all empty phenomena. But we don't worship thoughts and phenomena unless we're ignorant. The Four Noble Truths are signs pointing here and now, and I'm pointing to myself. There is suffering, and I look here rather than listening to the BBC World Service about all the suffering and wars that are going on here and now in the world. So suffering is to be realized, to be understood. So we're not trying to get rid of it. We're not trying to not suffer, but suffering is teaching us that it is a condition, has causes. It's not personal, it's just the way life is in these very mortal forms. The word mortal means they're meant to die. And when our identity is with unsatisfactory conditions that are changing that we can't control, then we suffer because, we blame God, when we're caught in our thinking mind, we tend to blame. I was noticing with this assassination of this American political activist, Charlie Kirk, all the news is who's to blame. Immediately they go to who's to blame for this. On all the media, whether it's right or left, it's about who's to blame. And so I realized that I tended to do this too, just to have it. And because I am aware, I began to question, why do I always do that? Who's to blame? Somebody broke, I remember on the shrine in the old sala, the glass plate on the shrine, somebody broke that glass, and I immediately, who's to blame? And I began to think, why do I always do that? Why do I always feel there's somebody to blame? My first reaction, who's to blame for breaking this glass? And by questioning, it's not that we don't do that, but we begin to see how we're always looking outward, somebody to blame for our suffering. I'm suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. Who's to blame for it? I've got cancer. Who's to blame? And on like that. Who's to blame is a question that comes automatically with the thinking mind. There's got to be blame. Then we tend to see, is it my mother or my father? You know, we're looking for somebody to blame for the suffering, where a wise wisdom directs you inward. It's not about blaming, but understanding suffering is like this. It's attachment to desire, the causes of suffering. Am I to blame? Do I blame myself? Well, that's more words, isn't it? Who is myself? That just to investigate desire. How do you investigate desire? Dhamma. And, you know, then you think of desire, different cultural attitudes about desire, but Dhamma, the Pali word, means there's three kinds. Bhava Dhamma, Kama Dhamma, Bhava Dhamma, Vibhava Dhamma. And this realm that we're experiencing, this body, is a Dhamma form. It's about desire. Sexual desire, or desire for survival. So this, it's not that we get rid of desire, but we begin to no longer blindly grasp desires in our experience as an individual being in a society. The insight into the second noble truth is letting go of desire. Desire is a phenomena. So it arises and ceases. It's not ultimate reality. But just as you witness in your life here as it turns to autumn, you know, you see the changing conditions from summer to autumn. That's just natural phenomena doing what it's supposed to do, change according to the season. Getting old is just a natural condition of a human experience of life. Getting cancer, or things happen that you don't approve of or like, is, you know, this shouldn't be. People shouldn't act like that, or people should, you know, get along, just solve all their problems diplomatically with loving kindness. Is a good idea. But when you've really been insulted or hurt in some ways, you can think, well, I must forgive that person, but emotionally, you're angry or hurt. It's like this. Being angry is like this. Being hurt feeling misunderstood or taken advantage of. It's like this. It's just that the world should never take advantage of me is a hopeful wish, an impossible demand on phenomena that changes according to karma, not to my will or desires. So this investigation is into suffering and desire. Are you really a desire? And the desire is very impermanent. And we live in a desire form, in a desire world, in a planetary system that's all based on survival. So that's a way to realize for yourself what you truly are. Ultimate reality, not as a personal quality, because you see the futility of seeing yourself always personally, but to just stop doing it and learn to trust in awareness, in silence, the space between words, the silence behind the noise is the conscious, pure conscious, ultimate reality to be realized individually by oneself. So I offer this as a reflection.